So, as some of you will know, this is not the Bishops' Conference first document on the theme of criminal justice. So, looking back, I've got the date written down there, 2004, the Bishops' Conference, when Bishop Howard Tripp was then the liaison bishop for prisons, produced the document A Place of Redemption. It was a very serious piece of work, and that particular document looked at what was going on in our criminal justice system and raised questions and alerted a society to the issues that the criminal justice system faced and that were not being addressed, really. So it was the kind of punchline of A Place of Redemption was, where is the criminal justice system in trouble? Where is it not doing what it's setting out to do? And then in 2018, we issued a rather slimmer little document called A Journey to Hope. And that document picked up the questions that A Place of Redemption had asked to see if any of those questions had been addressed and answered by the criminal justice system. And sadly, at that time, really the kind of punchline of A Journey to Hope, this hope that Father George mentioned, that's our theme for the Jubilee next year, that document pointed out that all the questions that had been raised in A Place of Redemption had not been answered. And many of us in this room this evening are privileged to work in our criminal justice system. So many of us who are going in and out of our prison estate day by day, week by week, meeting men and women who have been through that system. Many of them committed very serious crime and now paying their debt to society while they're in prison. But we need also to recognise, and this is really at the foundation of this document, their dignity as human beings. That recognition that no matter what your journey in life has been, no matter how badly wrong you've gone, there is a dignity about the human person that can never and should never be taken away or devalued. And it's the recognition of that dignity that promotes and prompts and inspires the work that we're all engaged in the prison system. But as we know, and this hits the press quite a lot, we're in a time of challenge for our criminal justice system. So we've got parts of the prison estate that are in really bad condition. We have a prison estate that is full, or so nearly full, that the empty cells are hardly a statistic. As we all know in this room, this country imprisons per head of the population more people than any country in Europe, except Turkey, if you count Turkey as being part of Europe. And we also know that we are living with a criminal justice system that lives with, and I believe suffers from, this phenomenon of sentence inflation, where if you commit a crime 10 years ago and commit the same crime today, your sentence will be longer now than it was then, even though the crime is the same. And that has a massive impact on the numbers in our prisons. So, in the year ending March this year, how many crimes estimated to have been committed in that year? 8.8 million crimes in this country. But a very small number of victims of crime, 8%, feel that they receive justice if they report a crime that's been committed. So there's a bit of a lack of confidence in that part of our system. Just under 34% of adults released from prison reoffend within 1 year. Within 1 year. But those of you who are working in the prison system, there are many in the room, know that for quite a number of people, the number of those who fall back into crime, perhaps it might take them a bit longer than a year, is significantly higher. And we live with a system where, because of shortage of staff and pressures on our staff, particularly over weekends or at holiday times, those living in our prisons can be banged up, as we like to say, for 22 hours out of 24. It's very difficult to get on courses. For those who are given a very short sentence, there's no chance of them beginning a course in prison to help with their education or what they might do afterwards during the course of that very short sentence. And so the short sentence system, which the previous government and the present one is committed to remove the 6-month sentence, but those very short sentences just do not work. They cost the taxpayer a huge amount of money, but they're not effective. So that's the gloomy side of the picture. But, and again, represented in this room, those involved in prison chaplaincy, the wonderful work done by PACT, the Irish chaplaincy, the SVP, so many people doing great work across our prisons, including prison staffs. We know that sometimes things go wrong, but our prison officers, our prison staffs, doing the very best they can in very difficult circumstances. There's been a move in recent years to introduce more restorative justice in this country. The possibility for someone who's committed a crime to meet the person against whom they've offended so they can realise the impact of what they have done. And I'm very pleased this evening that we've got somebody here from the SHARP team that I was privileged to visit just the other week, working between Imperial College and the Chelsea and Westminster Hospital, looking at a project that really shows young people the impact of knife crime. And I was talking with them the other week about seeing how we can get that amazing work that they're doing into our justice system, so that that particular issue can be better addressed. I'm also conscious, and many of us will know this, that our probation service is understaffed and struggling, so that those leaving our prisons currently are going into a probation service that will struggle to keep them out of prison and help them reintegrate into communities. And then beyond all of this, we have the impact of crime, not just on those against whom crime is committed, but the families in particular of those serving sentences who are ostracised, young people bullied at school, young people losing hope, and the example that they need from parents and guardians who find themselves in the criminal justice system. So, just a little bit of the problem. All of you in this room know far more about these problems than I do, but just to highlight some of those. So into this picture comes Catholic social teaching. Somebody once said to me that Catholic social teaching was the Church's best kept secret. I don't actually think that's true any longer. I think we might have said that a few years ago, but I think increasingly the value and impact of Catholic social teaching is being seen in all sorts of parts of our society. The City of London, for instance, the impact that we're seeing with it in our schools, the way our schools are picking up Catholic social teaching through various projects now. It's becoming better known and loved. And it's the most wonderful body of teaching that puts the gospel into practice in people's daily lives and impacts on the world. A key thing when we take Catholic social teaching and then apply it to criminal justice is that somehow criminal justice should be restorative. It should be restorative. I'm going to tell you a little story. Some years ago, it was a prison chaplains conference just after I'd taken on the job of liaison bishop for prisons. And we had a religious sister from the north of England, Sister Margaret, from Borbank Hall. Many of you may have come across her. And she came and spoke to the chaplains' conference. Now, Sister Margaret looks at life from an interesting angle. I'm just going to share with you what she said. She'd made a study of chimpanzees. And I thought, what's this got to do with prisons? And she said, I'd like to talk to you about a chimpanzee colony. If a chimpanzee misbehaves, the chimpanzee is ostracized by the other chimpanzees for a very short period of time, and quite quickly is then started to be brought back into the community. And she said, what do we do with those who commit crime? Because we have this vote winner that says, lock them up, throw the key away. So people are not being brought back into their communities. So, as I say, she came at it from a rather interesting and quirky angle, but that story stuck in my mind because it's a clear example of the kinds of things we should be doing. A prison sentence, yes, but how do we then bring people back into the life of the community where that is possible, and obviously it isn't always, but where it is possible, to start working at that as quickly as we possibly can. So our Catholic social teaching vision of a criminal justice system is one that is restorative and brings in rehabilitation and work towards that as quickly as we can possibly get there. And we need to care for our victims of crime better than we do, as well as those who have committed those crimes, because that's all part of the restoration. So you'll see this suffused through this document. And this new document, the Bishops' Conference, really makes two very central points. This need to remember the human dignity of all those involved in the criminal justice process: victims, offenders, their families, and those who work in the criminal justice system, be that in the police, the court system, probation, and within the prisons themselves. Centering on the fact that every one of those people is made in the image and likeness of God. If we start from there, our work will truly be transformative. The other key message in this document is the really important role of families, parish communities, and local communities in meeting the needs of victims, offenders, and their families. How many of our parish communities are ready, willing, and able to welcome back those who are leaving the prison system? Where do we need to change attitudes to make that possible? So there's a real work to be done there. But where it can be done, we're really living out of the gospel, really living out our Catholic social teaching. One of the key words, I think, of Catholic social teaching over the years in this country has been this word, the common good. The Bishops' Conference produced that document on the common good years ago now. But that's what this is all about. It's the common good of every person growing out of their innate human dignity, enabling each person in society to work towards that common good.